We are in December 2009. The marketing campaign of James Cameron's new project is at its best. The whole world is eager to see the mysterious and innovative movie from the creator of Terminator and Titanic. Oh, wait a second. Did I just say mysterious and innovative? Innovative? Maybe. But mysterious? Definitely not. I mean, if you watch the trailer and your IQ is above 50, you'd be able to know everything about this movie without watching it. And you will have saved 3 hours of your life, actually. Let's have a look of what we learn in this trailer. Before we do that, little reminder. A trailer should only give you clues of what a movie is about. Only clues. Okay, so let's break it down. First, the hero is named Jack Sully, apparently, and he is in a wheelchair. Alright. 2. He's been given a job on a planet called Pandora. Okay, fair enough. So we are set in the future, alright. 3. He is a Marine, or retired Marine or something. 4. There is a military guy who looks like a bad guy, and he clearly wants to kill the Na'vi, the natives of this Pandora planet. 5. A random company pays for this expedition because they want to get some Pandora rocks worth $20 million a kilo. And of course, the Na'vi people will live on top of the richest deposit. Alright? 6. There are some scientists led by Sigourney Weaver who must convince the Na'vi to relocate. And if they don't succeed, it will be war. Okay? Sounds very familiar, this story, but anyway. 7. We are then introduced to the Avatar program. Some kind of transfer of your consciousness into an hybrid human Na'vi. 8. The bad guy makes a deal with Sully, the hero. Sully has to go behind the enemy lines, get some intel, and if he does so, he will get new legs. 9. We are then introduced to Neytiri, a Na'vi who speaks English. She seems to dislike Sully at first, but hey, it's clear that it's the beginning of a love story. Okay, that's again very familiar. 10. Sully switches sides, but he realizes that the Na'vi are innocent, and finally that the colonel is the bad guy. Okay. 11. there's gonna be a big battle between the colonial forces and the Navy, helped by Sully and some of his friends, including the scientists and Michelle Rodriguez, who is some kind of pilot. 12. Sully becomes the leader of the Navy. Okay, so there's nothing else. I mean, I know everything. I mean, this is exactly how trailers shouldn't be. All right. So anyone who watched this trailer back then knows what to expect story-wise. So why so much success? Only one reason I can think about why Avatar was a huge hit and became the highest grossing movie of all time in 2009. The CGI, the visuals, the 3D. Yeah, in a nutshell, it's the 3D. A movie made in 3D in movie theaters was a revolution in 2009. Well, yes and no. 3D movies with 3D glasses already existed before, but you will not be able to find them in your standard movie theater. You'd have to go to big theme parks, like the Futuroscope in France, or Disneyland. For example, Captain EO, starring Michael Jackson, was a 1986 3D science fiction film shown in Disney theme parks. But okay. Avatar was the first 3D blockbuster released all around the world. The movie is a great achievement. There's no denial. This movie is a great achievement. Obviously. The visuals are more than amazing. But that's it. That's it. There's nothing else. Avatar was nominated 9 times at the Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. And it won only 3 technical awards: Art Direction, Cinematography, and Visual Effects. I want to thank Catherine Bigelow, James Cameron's ex-wife, for winning Best Picture and Best Director. Because thanks to her, in 2009, the world still made sense. Because in my opinion, Avatar is not a great movie. If you want to make a good or a great movie, you need at least 4 things. A good screenplay, good actors, a good direction, or something that actually that will shock in a good way the audience. And of course, the movie must look good. I mean, not only CGI and visuals, but also the photography, the ambience. First, the good screenplay. Avatar doesn't have a good screenplay. I mean, it's a predictable and super classic story, full of cliché, and it's very simple. You have the badass military guys, the nice and kind scientist, the greedy CEO, And it's clearly a ripoff from Pocahontas and Dances with the Wolves. Let's face it, it's exactly the same story over and over again. James Cameron makes me laugh when he says that he got his ideas for Avatar from a dream he had when he was 19 years old. Yeah, sure. There is no character development. Only one-dimensional characters. The colonel is the bad guy, the hero is almost perfect, the scientist is understanding, open-minded, the CEO wants to make money. By the way, there is apparently a deleted scene that could have helped developing the character played by Giovanni Ribisi. Apparently, he was having second thoughts about killing the Na'vi and faced the wrath of the colonel. That would have been interesting, but no. Let's remove that scene and add another scene about a random animal or plant of Pandora. Yeah, why not? We don't have enough of them. In regards to the cast, as I said, we need good actors to make a good movie. Well, I have nothing against Sam Worthington. But this actor is terrible in this movie. I mean, seriously. He's a one face, one voice actor. Whatever happens, he will show no emotion. Example? Well, after 5 minutes, Sully finds out his brother is dead. And look at the way he looks at his dead body. You would imagine that he might cry or do or say something. No. Oh, my brother is dead. Okay. Thanks to the CGI or whatever you want to call it, Sully, later on in the movie as an avatar, as a Na'vi or whatever, is actually much more interesting. They had to add his facial expressions in post-production, I guess. Not joking. Now Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang, who plays the colonel, is just awful. I don't know if he was supposed to be over the top all the time, or if it was Cameron's vision, or his own choices. But man, his portrayal of his colonel is laughable. You're the villain. Important role. So be scary, be intimidating. I rewatched this movie a couple of days ago, and every time he opens his mouth or does something, I was either laughing because it's so cliche, or I was almost crying because I remember that he'll come back in the fucking sequels. Zoe Saldana's performance might be the only silver lining. But to be fair, it's hard to tell if an actor or an actress does a good job if you only see them with motion capture. I mean, we don't see the real Zoe Saldana. We only see Neytiri in this movie. So, anyway. But yeah, it's a great performance, kind of like Andy Serkis in Lord of the Rings, I guess. But yeah, I guess she will not get an Oscar for being Neytiri, that's for sure. The direction. James Cameron is an amazing director. What he did with The Abyss or the first two Terminator movies is extremely impressive, I mean, obviously. But there's nothing amazing about his direction, about his work behind the camera in Avatar. You will not find one whoa moment. You know, that kind of moment when in a movie, anyone, even people who know nothing about movies, etc., these people will just stop for a second and think, whoa, what I'm watching is really something. In my opinion, there are too many cuts, no like long one cut sequence, no tension. Sometimes if you remove the beautiful soundtracks by James Horner, you feel like you're watching a documentary about Pandora. And the storytelling is a joke. It's either Sully narrating events, explaining things, because you know a movie is so complicated, right? You need someone to explain you stuff. Or Sully's video recording, like his personal diaries, you know? He's talking to us, to the audience in a way. Again. Always. So again, it's a beautiful movie. Nobody in the world can deny it. Still today, 11 years later, it looks better than any movie ever made in my opinion. But that's not enough in my opinion. Now, let's have some fun and do a little breakdown of Avatar scene by scene. First, after telling us that in the future there is overpopulation and an environmental crisis, well, already a very original idea of this movie. I mean, how many sci-fi movies have this kind of... Anyway, never mind. So after telling us that in the future there is overpopulation and an environmental crisis, Sully, in a wheelchair, decides to help a girl who's being harassed by an asshole. And conclusion, we understand that Sully is a good guy. That's why this scene exists. Okay. 2. After a beautiful scene in space, Sully, who has a chance to take the place of his twin dead brother in the Avatar program, arrives at, the forest moon of Endor? I mean Pandora. Pandora. At this point, he doesn't know exactly why he came all this way, doesn't know much about Pandora, doesn't know much about his brother's role in this planet, but still he's signed up almost straight away. Okay. Then, third part. After a couple of scenes with military guys, mercenaries or whatever, the type of mercenaries you have seen in 1,000 movies before, we are introduced with the colonel, who starts a speech with the famous Wizard of Oz reference or quote that you have heard in 1,000 movies before. Then we have Sully discovering his workplace. Another very original idea by James Cameron here. He decides to give us the usual less attractive than the hero friend. In this movie, his name is Norm. By the way, I had to go on IMDb to find that information. Norm, the less attractive than the hero friend, explains to Sully, and through Sully, us, the audience, who is who and what is what. kind of similar to those scenes in coming-of-age movies, like Twilight, where a new guy or a new girl arrives in a new school. After a while, there is a discussion between Sigourney Weaver, who plays Dr. Augustine, and she represents science and exploration. A discussion with Giovanni Ribisi, the greedy CEO. He represents money and, I guess, capitalism, and everything that is wrong with cultural assimilation. Because yes, remember that in this movie, the scientists are only here to convince the Na'vi that they have to go where the humans tell them to go, that they should learn our language, our values, and that they must understand that Pandora is not theirs anymore. So in my opinion, the scientists in this movie are a bunch of hypocrites. Later, we are introduced to Michelle Rodriguez's character. You know, the character who's gonna switch sides in the trailer. So, question to myself. Is it me, or does Michelle Rodriguez has the exact same role, the badass woman, in all the movies and TV shows she's been in since 2000? Girl Fight, Lost, Resident Evil, Fast and Furious. Then, for at least 50% of the movie, it's not really about story anymore. It's more like sightseeing, like a tour guide of Pandora. Beautiful again, yes, but what the hell am I watching? I insist, this movie should have been released in theme parks, not in movie theaters. It's like watching very fancy video game cinematics. Anyway. Quickly, Sully meets Neytiri. And the movie is so predictable that you know from the moment they meet that they will end up together. First, she rejects him, then she falls in love with him, BS, you know. James Cameron's movies are famous for always having strong female characters. Ripley, Sarah Connor, Lindsay in The Abyss. But here, even if Neytiri is much more capable than Sully most of the time, he will eventually be the hero, and she will only end up being the hero's girlfriend. Why? Why? Okay. We reach now the hour mark, and still no real action scenes for a blockbuster. Except maybe Sully being chased by an animal. Okay. And here is another character cliché being introduced to make this love story even more predictable. The competition. This guy is the next in line in the Na'vi hierarchy, the next king or whatever. He's their greatest warrior, and he's supposed to become Neytiri's husband, by the way. So obviously, since he creates a love triangle without knowing it, he obviously has to be an asshole, especially an asshole with the hero, and he has to die. Okay, so now we have a very strange scene. Let me explain. Sully is supposed to get his own mountain banshee, a flying animal that the Na'vi usually ride. This scene is strange, because the whole Na'vi culture is about a respectful bond with nature. But when Sully bonds with his mountain banshee, it doesn't look very consensual in my opinion, right? By the way, a few minutes later, an enormous mountain orange and red banshee shows up. Neytiri explains to the audience, Sully, that it is Toruk, the last shadow. She says that only a few Na'vi in history have been able to bond with the last shadow. But when one Na'vi manages to bond with Toruk, the last shadow, he usually leads the people to victory in times of great sorrow. Okay. Another question to myself. Seriously, James Cameron. This is not even foreshadowing anymore. This is just bad writing, right? At this point in the movie, who doesn't know in the audience that Sully will be riding the last shadow before the end of the movie? I mean, it's clear, it's so clear, it's crystal clear. What the hell, man? How many years did you have to write this thing? And never mind. For the next 15 minutes, we see Sully realizing that time is running out, that the CEO and the army are ready to destroy a giant tree so they can get the precious rocks. Sully tries then to persuade the colonel that he can convince the Na'vi to relocate in the next 24 hours. Interesting. Since in the 3 months he spent with them, he never mentioned anything about relocation. So, here's my question. Does he really expect to do it in 24 hours? Or does he say that to the colonel so he is allowed to come back to the Na'vi only so he can make a move on Neytiri and sleep with her? I'm serious. Actually, I would go with the latter. Because yes, he does sleep with her. And relocation is, not so important anymore. While Sully and Neytiri are having fun, the stupid and naive Dr. Augustine tells the colonel and the greedy CEO that all the plants, trees, etc. are interconnected by some kind of life force, like the force in Star Wars, and that they still need to learn more so they can coexist with the Na'vi and the nature, etc., etc. So that's why I'm saying she's stupid or naive or both. How? How can she still believe that those guys want to coexist with the Na'vi? She's been working with them for years. She even said in a previous scene that troopers killed Na'vi children in her school years ago. And finally, after 1 hour and 48 minutes in this movie, Dr. Augustine says the magic words,
They never even wanted us to succeed.
No shit! 2 minutes later, Sully also seems to realize something that was in front of him all this time. This is how it is done when people are sitting on shit that you want. You make them their enemy, and then you justify a war, and you take what you want. Wisdom, I tell you. tell you. Wait a second, by the way. Wait a second. Is there a political message here? Is James Cameron criticizing the war in Iraq? Okay, I appreciate the gesture. But does Cameron really think that a political message in a dumb blockbuster will have any impact on the audience? And by the way, this line by Sully proves that this character is pretty smart and knows history of human past behaviors in times of war. But at the end of the movie, when he convinces the Navy to fight, he says that he believes that if the Navy win here and now, the humans will leave and never come back. Really? So you're not so smart after all. You really believe that the humanity, when they hear what happened on Pandora, will not send more troops to wipe out the Navy once and for all? They won't send reinforcements? Or even nuke Pandora from orbit or something like that? Really? God. Anyway. So now, 14th scene. We are approaching the 2-hour mark. And finally, something happens. The cliché colonel, with his troops, drinking coffee, destroys Home Tree, where the Navy settlement is located. Happy, he then says to his soldier, "First round is on me tonight, guys." Okay. Jesus. Because that's what colonels in movies do say after completing a mission, I guess. But Michelle Rodriguez, like Sully and Dr. Augustine before, is not happy. She apparently realizes that the colonel and his soldiers are bad guys. She says she didn't sign up for this shit. Another smart character, this one. Hey girl, during all those years working for the colonel, what did you think will happen in the end? Jesus. So Sully, Dr. Augustine, Michelle Rodriguez, and Norm. You remember Norm, right? Norm. Anyway. Go to a lab in the jungle where they plug themselves in so they can help the Navy against the humans. But since Dr. Augustine is useless now, she's shot before plugging in. Yeah, this character, we don't need this character anymore. The Navy asks Eywa, some kind of god, to transfer her consciousness to her Navy human avatar thing, without equipment whatsoever, just transfer consciousness. Apparently Eywa can do this. But Dr. Augustine is too weak, and she dies. The Navy don't trust Sully, which is quite understandable since he knew all along that the colonel wanted to destroy everything, but did not warn them. Remember, all he wanted is sleep with Neytiri. So, Sully does what we all expect he would do. He goes and finds the red and orange Banshee and bonds with it, and comes back to the Navy like a hero. I mean, that's it. Just because he rides the giant mountain Banshee, everyone, including Neytiri, and including the guy who was supposed to marry Neytiri, all of them seem to forgive him in 2 seconds. After 2 hours and 24 minutes, the battle starts. Finally. We see the colonel again, saying what colonels in movies do say. I want to be home for dinner, guys. Ha ha ha, yeah. Hilarious. He also says that he wants the operation to be tight. And 4 minutes later, when the Navy shows up, he starts screaming, break formation, engage hostiles. So what happened to the operation to be tight? Anyway, very coherent. So final part of the movie. Battle stuff happen. We can see the so-called ham suits in action. You know, those giant mechanical suits from Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. Avatar, a movie full of new ideas. At one point, even the animals show up to protect Pandora. Okay, fair enough. Then, my favorite character, the Colonel, since his ship is going down, goes in his own M suit and he faces Sully for the final fight. In front of the lab where the real human version of Sully is still plugged in front of the lab where the real human version of Sully is still plugged in. Anyway, so they fight, but it takes a few minutes to do the math. I mean, the Colonel just have to kill the real human version of Sully, and the Navy version of Sully will die too. So what is he waiting for? He fights the Navy version of Sully like a moron for minutes before doing the math. I mean, okay, anyway. Because, just FYI, it is much easier to kill a guy in a wheelchair than a 3-meter tall blue alien. Anyway. Finally, in the end, Neytiri shows up, kills the Colonel, and saves Sully. The humans leave, except Sully's friends, like Norm. Yeah, remember Norm? Anyway, I like Norm. He's completely useless character, and everybody forgets about him, including me. And so Sully really believes that his victory will scare humans off forever and will never come back. Amazing. The most naive hero of all time. Oh, and by the way, Sully decides to have his consciousness transferred to his Navi hybrid thing. You know what Dr. Augustine tried to do before but failed because she was too weak? So Sully is now a Navi and no longer a human being. So he can sleep every night with Neytiri, I guess. That's the whole goal. Anyway. Seriously, what a mess. What a mess. I'm gonna repeat myself. But if you remove the visuals, what's left? Maybe the worst thing about this movie, I realize now, is the characters. How can people relate to them? They are not interesting, and/or they are stupid. Now, since that movie made close to $2.8 billion, there will be sequels. Not sequel, sequels. 4 of them. But why? Who wants to see more of Pandora? And who wants to know what happens to those characters? It has been more than 11 years since Avatar. And there is no Avatar fandom, like Star Wars fandom, or Harry Potter fandom, or Lord of the Rings fandom, or Marvel, DC, etc. People either have forgotten about Avatar, or thought that there was no cliffhanger or potential for sequels at the end of the movie. Yeah, but James Cameron is rich. He's very, very rich. His great CV means he can do kind of whatever he wants in Hollywood, to be honest. Good for him. Seriously, good for him. He is a hard worker. He's been working on those sequels for years. He believes that the audience will show up once again. I respect him. I do. I admire him for his career. But I don't understand why Avatar. It is by far his worst movie. And it looks like the Avatar saga will be the only thing he's gonna do until he retires. He keeps saying that he's gonna use new technologies to make those sequels. So again, it will be all about the technological achievement. And the story? The script? The acting? Not important?